Oliver had always been fascinated by the history of his small town. Nestled between dense woods and rolling hills, the town was quiet, almost forgotten by the outside world. But Oliver knew there were dark stories buried beneath its quaint surface, stories that most people had long since ignored. He wasn't one to believe in ghosts or curses, but one tale always unsettled him, the legend of the man in the well. According to local lore, there was a well deep in the woods where strange things had been happening for decades. The legend said that a man had fallen into the well years ago, and his spirit never left. The well was supposedly cursed, and anyone who went near it would hear whispers, feel cold hands grab them, or even see the face of the man who had perished, staring up from the depths. Oliver had heard enough over the years to know where the well was located. Despite the warnings, curiosity got the better of him, and one evening, he decided to go find it. It was just a legend, after all, nothing more than a story parents told to keep kids out of the woods at night. What harm could it do? He packed a flashlight, his phone, and a water bottle, determined to prove the story wrong once and for all. The sun was already setting as he made his way into the woods, the fading light casting long shadows between the trees. The deeper he went, the quieter it became. Even the usual chirping of birds and rustling of leaves seemed to vanish, replaced by an eerie stillness. After nearly an hour of walking, Oliver found it, the well. It was older than he expected, made of crumbling stone and covered in moss. The wooden beams that once held a pulley had long since rotted away, and the well's mouth was covered by a rusty metal grate. Oliver shined his flashlight over the edge, trying to peer into the darkness below, but the beam barely penetrated the depths. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Oliver stood there, listening to the quiet and feeling the cool night air. "Just a story," he muttered, shaking his head. "There's nothing here." But then, as he turned to leave, he heard it, a faint whisper, like a breath on the wind. "Help me." Oliver froze. The voice was distant, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably real. He spun back toward the well, his flashlight trembling in his hand. The beam flickered, then went out completely, plunging him into darkness. He fumbled with the flashlight, slapping it against his palm until it sputtered back to life. The whispers came again, clearer this time. "Help me, I'm trapped." A chill ran down Oliver's spine. He knew he should leave, but something kept him rooted to the spot. He crept closer to the well, leaning over the edge. The whisper was louder now, more desperate. "Please, help me." His heart raced as he pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. The faint beam illuminated the well's interior just enough to reveal damp stone walls and thick vines trailing down into the abyss. There was no sign of anyone inside. But then, he saw it. A face, pale, gaunt, and barely visible through the tangle of vines. Two hollow eyes stared up at him from the darkness below. Oliver stumbled back, dropping his phone. His breath quickened, and his mind raced. He couldn't have seen what he thought he did, it was impossible. "Please, don't leave me." The voice was louder now, clearer. And then, something cold brushed against his ankle. Oliver jumped, shining his flashlight down to see a thin, bony hand creeping out from beneath the well's grate, its fingers stretching toward him. Panicking, he kicked the hand away and scrambled to his feet. His flashlight flickered again, the beam growing weaker with each passing second. The whispers rose, now joined by the sound of scraping metal, as if something was clawing its way out of the well. "I'm coming for you." Oliver turned and ran. The branches of the trees seemed to reach out for him, snagging his clothes and scratching his skin. He didn't stop running until he was out of the woods, breathless and drenched in sweat. When he finally reached his house, he slammed the door shut behind him, leaning against it as his heart pounded in his chest. He tried to tell himself it was all in his head, that the darkness and isolation had played tricks on him. But deep down, he knew what he had seen, what he had heard. For the next few days, Oliver avoided the woods, trying to shake the memory of the well and the voice that had called to him. But it wasn't long before the nightmares began. Every night, he would dream of the well, of the pale face staring up at him, of cold hands grabbing at his ankles, pulling him down into the darkness. The whispers followed him everywhere, soft at first, but growing louder with each passing day. "I'm still here." One night, as he lay in bed, the whisper came again, clearer than ever, as though the voice was right beside him. Oliver's eyes shot open, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked around the room, but nothing was there. Until he glanced at the foot of his bed. There, standing in the shadows, was the figure from the well, tall and gaunt, with hollow eyes and a twisted grin. Its bony fingers reached out toward him, the voice filling his mind. I'm coming for you. Thanks for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.